What's up, sons? It's Blind Rod with Son of a Tech once again, and I'm excited to share with you guys how I earned $185 for the past 2 days solo mining with a single GPU rig on FLUX. This GPU rig is only 6 GPUs and they are mixed, meaning they are not the most powerful 3090s, and they are also all light hash rate GPUs. So if you're interested in moving some light hash rate GPUs over to a new project, stay tuned. We'll get into it right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. Purchasing mining equipment online can be dangerous. With all of the fake storefronts and scams, it can be hard to find a reliable source. That's why when BT Miners reached out for a channel sponsorship, I started by verifying that ordering and delivery went smoothly with a purchase of my own. If you are looking to purchase ASICs hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both ASICminervalue.com and cryptominer.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and use promo code FREESHIPPING2021 for free shipping on your order. Welcome back. So we're going to do an overview of the coin, but before we do, a couple disclaimers. I am not affiliated with the team, nor have I spoken with the team behind FLUX at all. In addition to that, I have spoken with the mining pool that we will be featuring on this video. That being said, I am not affiliated with them, even to the point to where when I was talking in their Discord, they said we were trying to reach out to you over the past year to cover our mining pools. I do not typically lean towards one mining pool or another. I typically try to go ahead and utilize whatever looks most profitable or functions the best. In this case, what I was looking for was North American servers that had solo mining options and actually functioned well. And there were other pools that were not functioning well, so that is why we ended up on this particular mining pool. The other reason I needed to talk to the team was to get clarification on the way the mining pool functions for payouts, specifically surrounding a new concept to mining called parallel assets that is utilized by FLUX. So we're going to go ahead and start with getting into just an overview of the project. This is by no means in detail. The detailed coverage of FLUX will be put down on the back burner for a WTF is video, and I do not have that much information as far as the project itself goes, just more around the mining. That being said, we also should talk about the disclaimer of the effect of a cryptocurrency influencer when they talk about a certain project. Because this is targeting a certain coin, while I have no affiliation with the coin or no payment, etc., just by nature of me making a video means that there is the possibility of multiple things happening to the network. One being an increase in difficulty, making the mining rewards go down as a whole for everybody, meaning that profitability could go down. The price of the coin going up because I talked about it, and of course, thereby increasing the profitability of the coin. The ideal situation here is both of those things would happen and they balance each other out. That could happen, it could not happen, but I think that these disclaimers need to start being talked about in the cryptocurrency influencer sphere. Also, this isn't financial advice, this is just what I've done and the results from what I've done. Your results may vary. We'll try to cover why those results may vary when we get into talking about what happened here. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about FLUX. This is run on flux.io. This is not to be confused with Conflux, which on Twitter, when I was having a conversation about it, it seemed to have gotten confused there. So FLUX is decentralized Web 3.0, the next generation computational network. So what do you need to know about that, right? Decentralized cloud infrastructure. What does that mean? Well, essentially, you would think of it as a DigitalOcean or a Vultr VPS. VPS meaning virtual private server. Developers and so on would be familiar with this sort of set up to where they would deploy an app on a virtual private server that then they can surface to the web and that sort of thing. You're essentially renting out computational power, CPUs, storage, RAM, typically are the types of things that are getting rented out. Now, there are also GPUs in some VPSs. It really depends on the type of computational power you are trying to rent. What does Flux do differently here? Well, what Flux does differently is stand up nodes, and these nodes kind of serve a couple purposes, right? They serve the traditional cryptocurrency purpose of keeping, the ledger live and having people be able to communicate about changes that have been made to the network. They also serve as a platform for people to basically rent a server to deploy applications on. Now, this is very important and kind of what sets Flux apart from other projects, among a plethora of other things that set it apart. But this is important to understand that it is basically a decentralized version of DigitalOcean. Kind of the weird thing about this, though, is that people are deploying the nodes. Now, the nodes could be deployed in various manners, but your big thing if you're deploying a node is they do pay out. The incentive structure basically splits the block reward between different size nodes and miners. And because of this, the mining only gets 50% of the block, and then it kind of goes down from there. There's a percentage that the highest version of the server or the node will get. There's a kind of a middle version that you can stand up and a low version. For standing up these nodes, you will have to have a certain amount of flux that you stake within these nodes. Think of them just like master nodes, except kind of the difference here is that people are able to now utilize those for processing power, not just for validating the blockchain. So that's kind of where Flux sets itself apart on the incentive structure. The other thing that it also does for the incentive structure is basically have what's known as parallel assets. So while you're mining or running your node, depending on the mining pool, which you should pay attention to, you should receive what's known as parallel assets. Now, these parallel assets are technically paid out to different chains. So if you have essentially basically different tokens of representing the flux that you've earned, they get paid out to a specific chain, whether that be Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Tron, so on, and we'll cover which ones that are getting paid out here. You would essentially get a portion of that as a token contract sort of within that particular ecosystem. Now, some of the mining pools go ahead and make that conversion for you and pay you out directly on the Flux network. And in the case of the pool that we decided to use, this is what was done. So now that you guys got a kind of an overview of the project and what it does, it sounds good, right? And I think that it sounds good and it will function is kind of one of those things that is yet to be seen. It does look like it is functioning. You can stand up, from what I can tell, Minecraft servers, for example, on a node. You can stand up Valheim servers. These are all projects that have been, performed, things that I can see. Looks like the documentation is good. I haven't personally done anything, but I'll definitely be looking at doing at least standing one up myself to make sure it works before we get into the WTF is. But let's go ahead and talk about profitability for miners. Now, this is where things get a little tricky. You can mine in a couple different ways. You can either solo mine or you can mine to a pool. Now, if you've watched all the videos on mining Ethereum, etc., typically we cover mining on a pool. And that's because the difficulty of the network is so high that you need to combine your computational power with other people's computational power to basically find a block, and then it disperses that out. Now, you could set up like your own node and mine directly to that for solo mine, but that would be a little bit more difficult. So there are easier ways to do this. You have, different mining pools that basically offer this. You have like Two Miners, for example, has one for Ravencoin, and I believe even Flux. You have Miner Pool, which is the one that we're going to be covering today, that allows you to solo mine as well. And it's just going to be changing the address that you go ahead and mine to. Now, depending on your power and how high this difficulty spikes later on, it may be beneficial to just go ahead and get steadier payments on a mining pool. That being said, what I've done here to make a ridiculous amount of flux within the past 2 days is try my luck at solo mining. Now I got lucky, and with a single 6-card rig, we have found 2 blocks in 48 hours. A block reward, which is 50% of the total block reward for the miner, is about 37 FLUX, but it doesn't stop there. In addition to the 37 FLUX, which gets paid out immediately, you also have the parallel assets. There are going to be 10 parallel assets. Some are announced and some are not announced at this point. The interesting thing about this is you are stacking the announced and the unannounced, and when the unannounced are fully live, you'll get everything that you've been stacking from the very beginning of the mining. I clarified this with the pool op, and that's pretty incredible, meaning that you've increased your profitability by quite a bit. And so let's go ahead and take a look at the mining rig we're using and how we got that set up in HiveOS. So if we hop on over to HiveOS, we are using my 3080 Ti rig, which actually now has been renamed the Light Hash Rate rig. We used to have some 3080s in here. That being said, we've added 2 3060s and a 3070 Ti into here, and we've taken the 3080 out. And basically what you end up having here is a total of 356 solutions a second. Now, the thing about FLUX is it does utilize core. On the 3000 series, I haven't noticed setting an offset on the core to actually improve hash rate. The thing that improves hash rate more than anything is dialing in your power level, which is this last number here in HiveOS. Now, as you can see, the 3060s we have at 140 watts, and the 3070 Ti's and the 3080 Ti's we have at 300 watts. Now, going below this does on all of those cards reduce the solutions per second, but that necessarily mean that I've tuned this into the bestest power to hash ratio. It just means that we are trying to get the most hash out of the GPUs and stopping kind of there at our power limits. So that's kind of where we're at. There are other people that are getting other information for overclocks on FLUX that you should definitely look into. In the case of the 2000 series, I've noticed that setting core overclock helps, as well as setting it on the RX 6000 series. That being said, the difference really for the 3000 series is going to be that GPU boost 3.0. The other thing that we have here is going to be talking about the flight sheet. So the flight sheet that we're using here is going to be important. So obviously you're going to have your FLUX as the coin. You're going to have your wallet that you set up. You can get a wallet through the Zelcore wallet, which is what I recommend. Check out my How to Mine FLUX video if you want detail on that. However, as opposed to my How to Mine FLUX video, we are actually using a solo pool here at minerpool.org. And this solo pool means that we will get the full block reward if we solve a block. And that is how we have gotten so lucky to make the extra cash here. The next thing that's really important for especially the 3000 series is the miner selection. Now, this will not function on AMD GPUs, but the miner we're utilizing is Mini Z. Compared to LOL miner and G miner, Mini Z accelerates that hash rate significantly. Whereas on LOL miner and G miner, the 3080 Ti's will be only hashing at around 75 solutions a second. On Mini Z, as you saw, we were at about 100 to 110 solutions a second, depending on the variant of the 3080 Ti. Now, it is important here to note that the worst performing GPUs for the 3000 series across the board seems to be Zotac. It's always underperformed a little bit. So if you're looking for one, the EVGA here is what is definitely getting more solutions a second at the same wattage. I would lean towards EVGA in this particular case. Just kind of what I think about this. I think also if we got an EVGA version of the 3070 Ti, it could possibly be closer to 80 to 90 solutions a second as opposed to the 75, but I don't have another one to verify that at this point. And to be frank, I'm not going to purchase any more 3070 Ti's because it's by far the worst performing card for mining that I have tested so far. And we almost tested all of them, so I don't recommend them for mining. But if we have it, we're going to mine on it. We aren't going going to, lose money there. We're definitely going to utilize it. And my power cost is cheap enough. So now with those setups, we are mining on Miner Pool. So Miner Pool has a couple different options. You have essentially your traditional pool here, which is the FLUX pool. And then you have the FLUX Solo pool. The FLUX Solo pool is going to require more luck. You need to keep that in mind. It means that essentially you will get the full block reward, but you have a lot lower chance at actually getting that block. Now, it runs it in a little bit differently than just directly solo mining because it does still base some stuff off of shares. It's a little bit of a combo here. The other thing that's going to be important about mining solo is your latency to the pool. So really you want to make sure that you have the best latency to the pool possible, because part of what's going to happen here is that the faster you can submit, the higher your luck is going to be. That being said, we are mining with a hotspot right now because I don't have internet installed at the facility for yet another 40 days or so. So that being said, we are still finding blocks with pretty poor latency. I think at this point we are at like 80 milliseconds to this particular pool, but we're still under that 100 milliseconds. Once you start getting up to like over 100 to 200 milliseconds, maybe you don't want to be doing this. Just kind of some thoughts behind it from my perspective as far as that goes. So we do need to go ahead and talk about our performance. And so this is our address and this is our performance. And as you can see here, here's our rewards based on the latest payments. The last 24 hours, we have gotten 36.75 FLUX. And in the past 48 hours, like we said, we've gotten 73.5 FLUX. At the current exchange rate for, of course, FLUX, that translates into $207 US and 27 cents. But it doesn't stop there. It gets even better. Let's scroll up to pending parallel assets. And this is going to be key for you guys to understand because it really sets everything apart. When you mine a block or you get a certain portion, even if it is on, a non-solo block, you get a portion of FLUX paid out via a parallel asset. A parallel asset is essentially going to be a contract, a token representing the FLUX that gets paid out to a particular network. So Cadena is KDA, ETH is Ethereum, BSC is Binance Smart Chain, TRX is going to be Tron, and Solana, which was just added, is going to be this SOL. So whenever you mine, you will also get these parallel assets, and these are worth the exact same amount as FLUX. In the case of Miner Pool here, what they do is they pay out the parallel assets once a week on Thursdays. The reasoning for this is because instead of paying it out to your wallet and then you got to go in and actually bridge those assets back to FLUX yourself, they go ahead and do this process for you. So when you get paid out, you'll be paid out to your FLUX wallet and your FLUX address, making it that much more simple for the miner. But because it requires this extra work to be done by the pool, it is only processed once a week. Now, you need to understand active assets versus inactive versus, basically what is here. I'm colorblind. Let me go ahead and highlight it. Not released assets is what they clarify. These which are in kind of this, I'm assuming red since I can't read it. So active, inactive, and then that. So what is this? Well, the active is an asset that is working and that will get paid out every Thursday. However, an inactive asset is one that has been announced but not yet activated, so it will not get paid out quite yet. And then basically the last one, which is not released, is an asset that they have not partnered with but plan to partner with in the future. So one of the questions I had that regarded this, right, is because I'm trying to calculate profitability, is these basically parallel assets 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now I know that the Solana isn't active, but this Thursday, my understanding is the Solana will get paid out. However, none of these other ones in red will get paid out. So my question was essentially, do these get paid out once they are announced? And the surprising answer here is yes. So it's not just the 5.88 on these that are active, but you are still stacking parallel assets 6 through 10, which means once they go live, you're going to get an influx of FLUX. And that is pretty incredible. So I still am making this extra 5.88. So while the past 2 days we have only been paid out, the $103.64 a day, we are also earning the parallel assets. And so you can do a calculation on this and essentially do the 5.88 times the 10. And that means that we have earned another 58.8 FLUX that will be paid out, well, over time, right? So right now we'll only get these first 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would basically divide that by 2. So on Thursday, we'll get paid 30 or 29.4 FLUX. But once these are all stacked up and they become live on the network, that will go ahead and get queued out to pay on a Thursday as well. And it'll get paid directly to, of course, that asset. So that means with that 58.8, we add that to our total of 73.5, right? And then what we've actually earned total in the past 2 days for finding the 2 blocks is 132 FLUX. If we convert that over, that ends up being $370 for one mining rig in the past 48 hours. Now, to give you guys an idea, we've been talking about Ethereum and mining Ethereum and its profitability for a while. We do good on Ethereum. I'm not complaining. We make the $300 a day. That being said, on one mining rig on FLUX, provided that I used, the GPUs that mine the best with it, etc., solo mining, we have gotten really lucky and basically made what we make in a single day with the entire farm in 2 days with one mining rig. So if you're feeling lucky, maybe you want to try out solo mining. That doesn't, of course, mean that it's not profitable. So let's go ahead and take a look at what to mine if we were mining to a pool. And I mean not profitable with a mining pool. So over here, what I have queued in is going to be the Zell hash, which is our 356.1 hash a second at the 1400 watts. Now, this translates into $16.71 a day after a power cost of 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So if you're mining to a pool, the single rig that we have here would still be making $16.71 a day. Now, if we looked at this mining rig and we took a look at what it does on Ethereum, what you're essentially looking at is going to be, 85 mega hash a second on the 3080 Ti's. So 85 times 2 is 170 mega hash. And then the 3060s, you're getting around 40 mega hash a second. Sometimes it dips below that. We have reviews on that. It's a lot less reliable though, because these are light hash rate GPUs. On Ethereum, these do reboot quite often. So I do want to make that clear. But on that, essentially, let's look at activity, because I think we can. No, we can't. We cannot look at, I was hoping to go back and see the actual, because I'm trying to remember what. I don't even think we ran this rig once we reconfigured it over there. So the 3070 Ti is not as good either. That's around, 50 mega hash a second, somewhere around there. I think we could even check what to mine. It would tell us, right? So, oops. So 55, yeah. So we're about on point there. You can get 60 mega hash a second out of it. So we'll do that. Plus the 55, and then the two 3060s. 35 mega hash a second, so plus 70. So a total hash rate of let's just say 300 mega hash a second. So let's go ahead and queue this back in. That would be 315 mega hash a second, or 351 solutions a second. And then that was at the 1400 watts because we are higher on wattage here. Now a note is that the wattage isn't really that much different between Ethereum and FLUX with these light hash rate GPUs. We did do a review on it. We're a little bit lower, right? So I think it's like maybe 20 to 30 watts lower on the 3060s. So let's go ahead and calculate this out. It'd be 110 times 2 for the 3060s. The 3080 Ti's are around 220 to 280, somewhere around there. But I believe it's just 220 for the 3080s and 220 for the 3070 Ti. So we'll just go ahead and do the 220 times 4, right? There was a time, oh, times 5 plus 220. So 1100 watts essentially on Ethereum, and that was 300 mega hash a second. So if we calculate that out, what are we going to see? On Ethereum, $14.75 a day on a pool after 10 cents a kilowatt hour, and on FLUX, $16.47 a day after power cost on FLUX. Keeping in mind, of course, that what to mine is calculating in the parallel assets, but that will be paid out weekly, not daily. So keeping that in mind, you will have a little bit of a delayed payment, at least on miner pool, when this is considered. So let's go ahead and talk about, why this is possible. We can see the 7-day history. People are catching on. It's gone, in the past 7 days from, let's see, 1.6 mega solutions a second to 2.18 mega solutions a second. Now, of course, we have 300 solutions a second currently on the network, and we are successfully solo mining, and that's pretty incredible. Now, what's going to be interesting is after this video to see if we see a spike. I think a lot of people have already caught on. And then when you're coming into minerpool.stats, make sure that it says that you get paid in parallel assets. So if the pool doesn't support parallel assets, look for a different pool. And then your decision, of course, is going to be whether you want to get lucky. If you're feeling lucky and you're going to try a solo mine and you get lucky like I do, then super cool. Or if you want to take that more traditional look. And with the 3000 series light hash rate GPUs and utilizing Mini Z, I think you're more profitable on FLUX just across the board, at least at the current difficulty while making this video. Because remember that disclaimer in the beginning, this could all change very quickly. Here's the other thing. If you're just trying to calculate profitability with what to mine or miner stat, it's not accurate. Run your GPUs on it, see what you're getting, then plug in those calculations manually. For example, if we took a look at what to mine for the RTX 3080 Ti, it says that you're at 75 solutions a second, when in my case on Mini Z with a overclock and higher power consumption, we're at 100 to 110 solutions a second. So check your GPUs, see where they're at. Plug that in with the Ethereum, what you're getting on Ethereum, and see where you're more profitable. You can do this with all other coins as well, and that could be super beneficial for you. I hope this video was entertaining and informational. If it was, be sure to leave a like and comment and subscribe down below. And definitely hit that notification bell. We are going to be trying to cover FLUX in more detail with the WTF is video later on. If you need to learn how to mine it, there is a video already on this channel that you can check out as well. I'll see you next Tuesday. If you enjoyed this video, check out more crypto content up here, or go ahead and subscribe. Either way,